In a bid to form a uniform travel policy for the interstate movement of commuters within the Delhi NCR region, the Supreme Court has directed the central government to convene a meeting with the representatives of Delhi, UP and Haryana. The bench, presided by Justices Sanjay Kaul and M.R. Shah, recommended a one policy, one path, one portal policy for interstate travel between these three states. Ashmit Kumar joins us now with more. Ashmit, take us through the details of the order.
Well, the Apex Court made its opinion quite clear that it's pushing for a one policy, one pass, one portal policy, and that is what needs to be had. The Supreme Court noted that there is a unique situation here as far as Delhi is concerned, which is that the people living here are not confined to the city borders, but they also live in satellite towns in places such as Noida, Gurgaon, Faridabad, and to facilitate their travel and to facilitate their presence here, it's important that there is one uniform policy across the three entities, which is Delhi, Haryana, as well as Uttar Pradesh. The Supreme Court said that there can't be two ways about it. There needs to be a resolution that needs to be worked out, and towards that end, the Supreme Court unequivocally has directed the states of Haryana, UP, as well as Delhi to come together, to put their heads together, to come out with a singular pass, one pass that will be recognized across the Delhi NCR region, and that there will be one portal for applying for people applying for these portals. That is what is a resolution that the Apex Court is targeting. So as of right now, 1 week's time given to Delhi, UP, as well as to the state of Haryana to come back, to sit together, to put their heads together, to come out with this one policy, one pass, one portal mechanism. They'll, of course, have to come back in a week's time and update the court on what is the way forward from here to facilitate the ease of traveling in terms of restrictions for people living in Delhi NCR.
All right, Ashmit, many thanks for joining us. Now, how is this going to work? Joining me now to discuss the Supreme Court's observations are advocates Anandita Mitra and Aman Bhalla. Anandita and Aman, many thanks for joining us. One policy, one path, one portal. I mean, this seems nice on paper, but we've seen what's happened over the last several weeks. You know, district magistrates deciding to shut down at will, reopen when they want, e-passes for all kinds of activities being sought, people being turned back, the police doing their own thing. Do you really believe that this is going to move forward, Anandita?
Hi. Thank you for having us today. So the basic issues which you've pointed out right now is what led us to file this PIL in the first place. The essential ask which we had in the PIL was to be viewing Delhi NCR as one unit, as opposed to three different states when it comes to the interstate movement of the common man. So if you remember 4 weeks ago, when there was the lockdown 3 and 4 in progression, we were faced with a situation where the center, through its MHA guidelines, was opening up certain activities, but the states, while adopting it, were creating somewhat of a difficulty for the common man, which is why we found several district administration orders which said stuff like that if you have to travel to Delhi to work there in spite of you living in Gurgaon, please go and find accommodation in Delhi. Similarly, medical emergencies was one case which is still not tackled till date. So today, I think, has been a very good day for us at court, because the presiding judge, Justice Ashok Bhushan, clearly said that unless there was a common system in the three states, the latter states would pass or would be at liberty of passing contradicting directives, and the central's guidelines may end up being redundant. So that's where they coined the term of one policy, one pass, one portal. And we truly believe that this is the most that we could get today, because if I, as a resident of Delhi NCR, try to apply for a pass, whether it is Noida, whether it is Gurgaon or Delhi, if there is a common system in place, I at least do not have to go through the ordeal of having to apply in three different states, not knowing whether my pass of one or more state will come in, not knowing when they'll come in, and by the time these passes come in, so far as 2 or more states are concerned in Delhi NCR, the urgency of the situation is gone.
Absolutely. But Aman Bhalla, instead of putting together this one policy, one path, one portal that will try and synchronize between three different jurisdictions, and we don't know how that's going to happen, wouldn't it be simpler for the MHA to basically remove that flexibility that it's given in its last circular? The MHA very clearly stated that there should be no bar on interstate travel and that e-passes should be done away with, but yet it added that clause which gives the states and union territories the flexibility to impose restrictions but advertise them publicly and with advance warning. Now, wouldn't all of this just be made a lot simpler if the MHA just did away with that?
Hi, good evening. First of all, what I believe is that even though that ability has been given to the states to decide for themselves, makes sense in light of the fact that the cases are rising today. So because of the fact that the cases are rising, the states should be allowed to restrict movement if they think that that would cause the cases to increase. But what happens with the Delhi NCR, I think, is because it's such a unique area in itself, that it is the greater Delhi metropolitan area which falls within 3 different states. This would have required a separate policy or a strategy, and the central government should have realized that. The MHA should have realized, with the central government being in Delhi and realizing that there are people who travel between Delhi NCR and the surrounding districts, So even though I don't think it would be a one shoe fits all policy for all states to say that you allow interstate movement, you should have, it's all right that you've allowed states to have their own policy. But for the Delhi NCR, more than the central government, I think the state governments should have had the foresight to know as to what is the actual condition of the NCR and the status that it holds. And the NCR is something which the states consented to in 1985 when the National Capital Region Policy Board was formed. So keeping all those things in mind, I think the policy should not be straitjacketed, I believe. Policy should be able to, should be for each to their own, and accordingly be decided.
Well, if it's going to be each to his own, then you're going to end up with the very same problem that we're dealing with today. Because while the MHA has said that we're now in phase 1 of Unlock India, state governments are putting these restrictions which make it harder for people to move towards unlocking. But Anandita, I want to come back to you now, and we will have to wait to see how states respond to this idea of one path, one policy and one portal. But, in reality, in terms of executing this, how easy is it going to be?
So the situation we are facing is
altogether.
Yes. So the one thing which we must understand is the unique status of Delhi NCR as a concept, right? Because the sheer geographical location of Delhi, Gurgaon and Noida being so close to each other, it's almost like a Bombay, Navi Bombay sort of a concept. So because of the geographical location, Delhi NCR is at a very unique place in comparison to other states. So far as Delhi NCR as a concept goes, right now they already do have the infrastructure in place to deal with a problem like this. We believe that if the state administration acts in accordance with what the Supreme Court has suggested today, which is where they form one single committee and they say that, hey, look, what are your policies? Let's do one system where we'll have one portal where the applicant applies for their passes. We'll have representatives scanning these portals, and then we issue one pass depending upon the need or the necessity. It is a technological requirement, and it is a requirement which needs a consensus ad idem or the meeting of minds between the different professionals of these administrations, which I feel is something which can be totally managed. I mean, in the stances taken by the different states before the Supreme Court and the replies filed by them, so far Gurgaon has come on record and Noida has come on record. None of them have actually principally been opposed to it. In fact, today, when it fell from the benches that let's have one portal, the states were more than happy to take the suggestion on board and say that we will come up with a common plan and a common scheme.
Okay, that's good to hear. Perhaps we are then going to see a move towards this. And I think, the citizen will benefit enormously because all kinds of confusion and chaos being caused on account of this. Aman, as we wait now for states to respond and come back with how they intend to put this in place, what is it that you would like for them to sort of bring to the table to ensure that this is in fact executed smoothly?
What I would like seeing done is that they include all sort of professionals, private employees, people working in different industries who reside in one part of the NCR and work in the other or vice versa, like they did for lawyers in the past. The Bar Council of Delhi and the Delhi High Court Bar Association 10 days ago had moved a petition before the Delhi High Court, wherein the states came and gave their consent that for lawyers, it being an essential service, that justice dispensation being an essential service, they created a separate category for advocates to issue those passes to them for smooth movement. Now, with economic activity opening up, the MHA saying that economic activity should open up and we're moving towards unlock. Since Delhi NCR is so interdependent, they should have categories for industrialists, private employees, etc., who live in one place and work in the other, because it is such an economically interdependent area. So that is what I personally feel that they should be working towards and what I would like to be seeing done.
Well, it gets back to the bigger question, the larger issue, that if the government has basically said that it is now time to unlock, restart economic activity for individuals to get back to work wherever possible and wherever necessary, then I think states need to take that on board, because you're just adding layers of complexity. I mean, I get the point that you're trying to make use of technology, but it's still another layer of complexity that the citizen does need to deal with. So perhaps the premise of unlock is to unlock and reopen borders and let people get back to work. I think that will have to be at the heart of this strategy. But Anandita and Aman, many thanks for joining us here on CNBC TV 18. The two who filed this PIL on getting the Delhi NCR region to do what it's meant to do, which is to be able to engage with each other and allow the free movement of goods and people, which has been a casualty under the lockdown. Well,